Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Many years ago, I trained to run a half marathon. And I'm not a runner. I have run here and there throughout my life. And typically what I experience is a lot of excitement and energy around starting. And so you get going. Unfortunately, usually the first mile for me is the worst mile. But then once you get into the second mile, you start to settle down, you get into a rhythm, and it feels like, oh man, I think I can do this. I could totally do this. And then mile 4 happens, and it feels like you're going to die. And this is kind of my experience with running, and I've heard from other people that there's always this ebb and flow. And when I trained for this half marathon in the past, I had a lot of excitement up front, started working through the program, and then at some point my energy level, like interest in it, just started to fade and started to wane. And I think this is normal human life. If you think about like anything that we start, like a home project, if you're doing new flooring, you pop all the baseboards off, you're super excited, you got the flooring, you're putting the flooring down, and then for some reason the baseboards stay off for like the next 6 months. Because our brains are constantly like, we want that reward of like, I started something, I'm excited about it. And then when the excitement wanes, we have a hard time finishing that project. I mean, New Year's resolutions are the same way, right? January 1, we have a ton of resolve. And then at some point in February, we're no longer, that's not that important to me anymore. And unfortunately, this is a kind of a law of nature, but it happens in our marriages too. And so we are starting a new series called Marriage Mantras, where I'm going to do my best to give us some things, words and language that we can play over in our heads to overcome some of these natural human elements that show up in our marriages and actually hurt our marriages. See, research shows that marriages, often the frustration and expectation, so those like mismatched expectations, which shows up as frustration, is one of the primary things that takes down marriages. I know it seems like it would be sex or money or all these other things, but typically it's the reality of mismatched expectations. Which, if we're thinking about running a race, we're going to use that analogy here, that you start off really excited and it's going to be awesome and you're going to just like go run 25 miles straight. I know it's a little less than that, but you're going to run all these miles and it's going to be great, and then it's not. And so what we do is we get excited, love and passion is high, and we're excited, and then all of a sudden expectations start to change and we're no longer excited. And so what we have to do, and I think that this is biblical, which I'll share in a second, but in this dip is where we have to get a hold of reality, and we have to adjust our expectations and use things like mantras to help us manage our relationships. Relationships are not something that we just get into and then they stay awesome 100% of the time. They're something that we need to manage and tend to along the way. See, the idea of a mantra, it helps us shape our expectations. When we're feeling like this isn't what I asked for, or this doesn't match what I thought it was, the mantra can help us. And so today's mantra is, marriage is a marathon, not a sprint. So sprinting is short-lived, it's exciting, it's typically people enjoy watching a sprint more than they do a marathon, right? Because a marathon is long and enduring. But that's what marriage is. It's not all passion all the time. It's not all I'm in love all the time. And I hear a lot from couples that like, I still love the person, but I'm not in love with them. Okay, so that's when this mantra shows up in a healthy way. Marriage is a marathon, not a sprint. And the verse that I think supports this is Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. The analogy of running a race shows up here. And there's a couple other analogies within it. So it says, such a large crowd of witnesses is all around us. So picture yourself running a race and you're about ready to quit. You're at like mile 10 and everything inside of you says, I'm done. This is terrible. I'm not finishing. But then you see somebody in the crowd that matters to you, and all of a sudden you get new resolve. So the first component of marriage is a marathon, not a sprint, is to realize other people are watching, and your marriage is an example to other people. So there's a lot of people around. But in that process, the verse goes on to say, we must get rid of everything that slows us down especially the sin that just won't let go, which I think these mismanaged expectations, the fact that we think it's going to be always passion, always madly in love, is a lie that we believe. And so the conclusion is we must be determined to run the race that's ahead of us. Keep our eyes on Jesus, who leads us and makes our faith complete. And so I think that this idea of faith in our marriage is that it's not just feel good and awesome stuff all the time. That is a mismatched expectation. We need to adjust our expectations to say, how do I complete this? How do I plan for this? And when I hit those roadblocks, when I hit that runner's block, when I don't get enough sleep, or I don't train enough, or I don't get a good enough diet, we can adjust based on those key components. So the takeaway for today in your marriage and your faith is to try to identify those things that you can manage and that you can measure within your marriage to keep the race alive, to keep running the marriage marathon. When you start feeling like this is just not working and I feel like I might die because I'm at mile 10, what are the things that you can do? One thing, think about all the people in your life that your marriage impacts. People are watching and you're an example. That usually helps me keep going. But second, in my marriage, we have identified a couple of those things that look like regular pace of conversations and training, essentially, how we check in, where are we at? Also, the little types of things that are like boosts of energy. From what I've been told, when you're on a marathon, there's little boosts of energy packets that you can take. Well, what are those? Well, reflecting on positive times and the things that you love about your partner. Those can help you endure the marathon. And stay tuned for the rest of the series because we're going to continue to give you little mantras to keep your marriage on track so that you can last the entire time. This week in your faith, examine how your faith fits in your marriage, but then also look for those places in your marriage that you can determine will keep you on the track, keep you in the race longer, so that you can impact this world for the better and have the marriage of your dreams so that you can celebrate at the finish line with everything that you have. Thanks for watching Faith in 5. If you like what you see, please like and share. If you're interested in making a donation to our ministry, please click the link below.